Alright guys, welcome back to Strong Successful Male. So for today, or in this case later today, doing part 2 to the story I covered earlier about the guy who married to 11 years, led a great marriage, went to visit his wife as a surprise on one of her business trips, and lo and behold, she's with another dude. And after discovering she was cheating, a whole bunch of drama went through with him ditching her in the hotel room with nothing left but her bra. And it ended with her somehow finding a way back home at the door, and they were discussing her sister. Her twin sister, who, as you would learn at the very end, they used to play a game when they were younger, because of course they like to play games, where they would exchange boyfriends and hook up with each other's boyfriends, compare their love-making skills, sizes, and everything. But of course this never happened with this guy. And you're going to learn more about what's going on in this guy's crazy, psychotic situation. So it picks up, he says here, I asked if I had ever slept with Karen without knowing it. She blushed but told me, of course not. That's crazy, right? We only did that back in high school and college, but not to the men we love. And you all do recall how often she said she loved him in the other part 1. I was her true love, and she wasn't going to share me. She looked at me as to see if I believed her. I had my doubts that she was telling the truth. Really? I'd have more than a few doubts, dude. There were times when I felt things were off when I was with Ellie, things that Ellie should remember, but she did not. I asked Ellie if she ever slept with Karen's husband, and she said, of course not. Anyway, she called her sister Saturday after I left the hotel with her things and explained the situation. She told Karen to overnight a credit card, Karen's driver's license, some cash, and clothes. She'd use Karen's driver's license to get on the plane and Karen's credit card to pay for things. Well, that is highly illegal. That their hair was different in the picture ID, but it didn't matter. Women changed their hairstyles and color all the time. The face was the same. Ellie and Karen could have even had opened each other's iPhones using the same iPhone facial recognition. Karen sent the package on Monday, and Karen received it early Tuesday morning, early enough to get to the airport to begin her way home. I asked Ellie if she called her boyfriend. He had her clothes and laptop. She said he wasn't her boyfriend. To call him, that was to elevate him way too much. He was just a stupid fling. Well, obviously, it was more important than she's letting on, because to ruin her marriage here. She said that she did not have his cell phone number, and I had her phone. When she realized I wasn't coming back for her, she called the resort and asked for him. The resort said that he had already checked out. She asked if he left anything for her and gave them her name. The woman at the resort told her to hold and came back and said they had a couple bags with her name on them. She asked when Ellie was going to come back to get them. She told them that she'd be in touch. She had no way to get the clothes, no way to even get back to the resort, because she had no money or credit cards or clothes at all. Oh, poor her. I asked her how she ate, and she said she used room service and put it on the credit card the hotel had on file. It's not rocket science how to do that. I told Ellie that I was seeing a divorce attorney the next day. We were divorcing. There was no way of reconciliation. She started crying and told me she was sorry, that she made a terrible mistake and would never do anything so foolish again. When she received clothes from her sister, Ellie even threw out the red bra because she didn't want to be reminded of her stupidity. She didn't want a divorce. She loved me and wanted to spend the rest of her life making it up to me. She won't agree to divorce. She loves me too much. Could we just talk? So she obviously thinks she's so hot and special and amazing that she can just keep sweet-talking this guy and eventually wear him down. That's the tactic she's doing. And tears and drama and lies and all that. This sounds like a typical story. It didn't matter to me, so I asked how long it's been going on with this guy. She said she went to the conferences 3 or 4 times a year for at least the last half dozen years. Did she ever go to the meetings, or were they just all excuses to hook up with her lover? She said she met the guy 6 or 7 years ago at a meeting. Say what? You've been cheating on me with this dude for 6 or 7 years? We've been married for 11? She said she met the guy 6 or 7 years ago, blah, blah, blah. He was also an attorney. They sat next to each other at lunch and talked. They continued to talk at dinner, and then she went to his hotel room with him. It was nothing serious. Oh, but it's been going on for 6 or 7 years, nothing serious. They didn't want anything from the other person but the sex and a good time. He was married with children, and she was happily married. Happily married? You sure about that? Neither was going to give up their marriage, but they met a few times a year at conferences, or they met for weekends just like now in Santa Fe. It meant nothing to her, she said. Just a vacation from life for a few days. She loved me, not him. Don't worry, she'll never see him again. Oh, well, that's a sigh of relief. Thank you, honey. I said, so you've been seeing this guy for 3 or 4 times a year for years. It started before you were married and continued the whole time we've been married. She started crying, shocker, and nodded. She said it didn't mean anything. She was just doing something for her. You want to do something for you, go to the fucking spa and get your nails done. Get a pedicure or manicure, whatever the cures are, and do that. But no, you're not going to hook up with other guys. That's what you want to do? We shouldn't have gotten married. It wasn't because I didn't make her happy. The affair was exciting, but it wasn't really that important to her. She'd never do anything like that again. I asked if there were any other guys that she was hooking up with, and she said no. I asked why I should believe her. She said she didn't want to and couldn't see men from her law firm. The firm really frowned on that, especially with someone who was married. If the firm found out, she'd be fired. Good to know. She said there was just this guy. Okay, so you all heard it here. Just this guy. This is the only guy she's ever cheated on him with. Okay, we're going to remember this. He pushed the right buttons when they first met, and she followed him back to his room. Oh, well, it's his fault. He's like Pied Piper. She regrets all of it. She's so sorry and embarrassed. And she can't understand why she did this. That was the bad Ellie. That wasn't me. That was bad Ellie. She loved me and would make it up to me. Okay, we'll get out your checkbook. She even understood why I left her without anything in Santa Fe, and she was no longer mad about that. She deserved to be punished. I bet you on some level she did like that, to be honest with you. She was relieved I was finally talking with her and asked if I had any more questions. I looked at my watch. It was just before 8:30 at night. I said, let's call the wife. And she looked alarmed. Why did I want to call the wife? What wife? I told her the guy's wife should have known what a dirtbag she had for her husband. She said she didn't have his phone number or his wife's number. Bullshit. I told her you can find anything on the internet. She said telling the wife would destroy his marriage, and I replied, Ellie destroyed my marriage. Why was she concerned about his? I got her phone from the bedroom upstairs and my laptop. I asked for his full name again. She said this was wrong. I said, wrong or not, she's telling the wife. You're damn right this guy's wife has the right to know. This motherfucker's going down. The wife deserved to know. She gave me his name and city where they lived. I found his cell phone number. It matched the one in Ellie's cell, and one for somebody who was probably his wife. I told Ellie to call now and confess everything to the wife. Ellie said maybe Ellie and I should just talk for now. She could call the wife tomorrow if she still wanted. I should call her, and I told her to call her now. She called, but the call went to voicemail. Ellie hung up. I told her to call again. If it went to voicemail again, she should leave her name and number and tell the wife she had important information about her husband to please call back. The wife called back a few minutes later. Ellie was on speaker. The wife didn't sound very happy. She asked Ellie what she knew about her husband. Ellie proceeded to say they've been meeting and sleeping together at weekend getaways or meetings for years. It was a long-lasting relationship, but they weren't in love or anything. Oh, well, as long as you weren't in love with anything, then we're cool here. Both wanted to remain married. Ellie apologized to her and said it was over. The wife asked how many times they met. Ellie hesitated, closed her eyes, and said softly, 2 or 3 times a year for 6 or 7 years. Now, I'm sure there's more going on here, but that's still a lot of times. The wife asked if they met in the city where the wife and her husband lived. Ellie said no, they met at different places all over the country. The wife said it couldn't have been her husband that Ellie was talking about. Her husband only went to 1 meeting a year. He never traveled on his own more than once a year, certainly never 3 or 4 times a year. Ellie was talking to the wrong wife. Ellie looked at me anxiously and then looked away. Could it be Ellie has other lovers other than this guy? Ellie asked if her husband just got back from the meeting in Santa Fe, and the wife said yes. That he came home early because he wasn't feeling well. Ellie said he had to go to the website and look at the conference schedule. There wasn't a conference this past weekend there. She could also call the resort to see if they hosted a meeting if the wife still didn't believe Ellie. Ellie can send her text communications with her husband. The wife said that she'd check and call back if she had more questions. We never heard from her again. I don't know if the husband tried to call Ellie. I checked Ellie's phone and he was still blocked. Too bad. I'd like to hear what he had to say to my wife now that she exposed him. I said to Ellie, so this guy was meeting you once a year, but you were going to 3 or 4 meetings a year. Who else are you effing? She said the wife was confused or gaslighting, wanting to avoid admitting it was her husband. Your nose is growing, Pinocchio. They met more than once a year. She didn't know why the wife was lying. She just can't help herself. Lies after lies after lies. I asked her who else. She put her hands over her face and really started crying. I waited a bit and asked her again, who else? She just continued to cry. I told her she needed to be completely honest with me or I'd move out, and I've never talked to her again. We communicate only through lawyers, and she said, please, please don't leave her. She couldn't live without me. What she'd done was horrible, but we shouldn't let it ruin our lives. Or ruin our love or some bull crap like that. What she did was hurtful to me, but the men really meant nothing to her. Oh, okay. She understood it was nothing to me. She's ready to do anything I asked to get past this. She loved me. We can get through this if we try. She understood that most of the work had to be done by her. She was ready to do anything. I told her unless she was completely honest with me, unless I believe what she tells me, I'm leaving tonight. Ellie said she'd tell me what I wanted to know. You admitted you said you were going to tell me everything I wanted to know earlier, and you neglected to mention that you were hooking it with multiple dudes around the country instead of this one clown I met. Ellie said that she met guys at different conferences over the years, and she continued to meet some of them for weekends away. She also met guys in our city. None of them lasted very long. The local guys she would meet for weekends here. Sometimes when she told me she was traveling for a conference, she was really here at a local hotel for the weekend. Good, this poor bastard. Again, if the story is in fact true. The truth is stranger than fiction, but sometimes these stories are so well written, so you get like a movie, you have to question some things. But then again, some people are very good writers. You know, I want to believe this is real, and if it is, I'm sorry for the guy, but regardless, it's entertaining as hell. She was so sorry. She realized that something was seriously wrong with her. She needed help, and she'd find a therapist immediately. Yeah, go see Dr. Lecter. She should have gotten help years ago. She'd never do any of this again. She loved me, and she didn't care about any of the other guys. I asked her, how many guys? She said she really didn't know. I asked her if she slept with anybody that I knew. She hesitated, and then said it wasn't important. Her craziness was all in the past. No, honey, your craziness is right here front and center. I asked her again if there was anybody I knew. She was crying so hard now that she couldn't talk. Oh, here we go, the blubbering, and you need the English or the Tusken Raider to English dictionary. She's blubbering. Sounds like a fucking Tusken Raider from Star Wars. I waited, and she knew I wasn't going to give up, so she said a couple guys from my company. Now she's banging dudes this guy works with in his father's business. I asked who, and she said didn't really matter. I asked again and told her I'm leaving. She said 2 younger techs who work for me. She told me their names. She said she was at the gym one Saturday. They came up to her and introduced themselves and told her they worked for me. They said they recognized her from when I came to see them at work. They asked if she wanted to work out with them. What? They were brothers. They seemed very nice and were in terrific shape. Maybe she could learn a new exercise or two from them. Exercise, is that what they call it these days? Also, she didn't want to be rude, so she said okay, and they worked out together. They were very friendly, yeah, I bet. Really cute and helped her with her workout. They kept complimenting her on her fitness and tight body. She said she learned a lot from them, so she invited them to lunch as a thank you. They went to lunch and then a hotel. After she went with both of the guys to the hotel, slept with both guys. She looked down, crying, and nodded. I asked her how many times. She said they were a regular Saturday thing for a few months, but that was well in the past. She hadn't seen them in a while. Oh, again, that makes everything better. If I remember correctly, the 2 brothers quit 6 or so months ago. They said they were moving back to their home state because their parents were getting old and needed them. and probably because they caught some disease. I said that her sister Karen always worked out with her on Saturdays. Where was she while these guys were playing grab ass with Ellie? She stopped crying and looked at me alarmed. She finally said I'd have to ask Karen. I said I was asking her. Ellie started crying again, and I asked if Karen was part of their hotel fun. And she said yes. Karen rarely missed a Saturday. I asked if they all did this together in the same hotel room, and she said yes. So the whole, my sister and I did that stuff in high school and college, swapping boyfriends and everything, well, clearly that hasn't stopped. So she said yes. They got a room with 2 queen beds. Ellie had SCX with one brother, and while Karen had SCX with the other. Then Ellie and Karen switched guys and had SCX with one another. They hadn't done anything like this since college. Well, again, this is like something out of a freaking, out of PR and Hub. I can't imagine twin sisters, well, you get the point, in the same room. You never know, we're in some Gomorrah 2.0, but any twin sisters out there, you can let me know. I don't expect any twins to write me, but fuck, you never know. I remember the long Saturdays. Ellie told me she and Karen went shopping after the gym. Kelly's break from being a mom. I looked at my watch. It was almost 9:30 p.m. Karen and her husband should still be up. I said, let's call Karen's husband. She stopped crying, her eyes wide open, and asked me what I intended to do. Bitch, what do you think I intended to do? The same thing with the other guy's freaking wife. I said she's going to tell Karen's husband about Karen's Saturday escapades. I picked up her phone from the table and handed it to her. Ellie said she wasn't going to destroy Karen's marriage over some meaningless fun. Meaningless fun, really? Karen was her sister. Ellie couldn't destroy her life. Karen destroyed her life all on her own, as you destroyed our marriage all on your own too, by your choices. They had children. It wasn't right. She said if I wanted to leave over this, go ahead. She wasn't calling Karen's husband. She wasn't going to be responsible for ending Karen's marriage. Karen is responsible for ending Karen's marriage. I got up and started to talk toward the stairs. Ellie asked where I was going. I said to pack. I'm going to stay with my father, something he suggested when I told him about Ellie. She looked horrified and asked if I really told my father about her. And I said, yep. He told me to toss you to the curb. He said, you are a cancer and will destroy me unless I rip you out. I started to climb the stairs, and Ellie said, please don't leave. I told her she knows what she has to do. And she said, okay. I told her she better convince Karen's husband she was telling the truth. So she called Karen's husband. The phone was on speaker. I sat next to her, and while Karen's husband answered, she made some small talk. Ellie building up her courage to tell him. And I said, get to it. Ellie said she was calling because she needed to tell him something about Karen. Ellie continued that she and Karen had been sleeping with 2 guys for months after meeting up at the gym on Saturdays. She told him the 2 guys' names. The 4 of them went to the hotel after working out, and Karen and Ellie had SCX with them. I wonder if Karen's home during all this. Karen's husband asked why Ellie was telling him this. She told him I had found out and insisted Ellie tell him. I thought Karen's husband should know. She went on to tell him the name of the gym, the hotel that they went to, and approximately when it started and stopped. She also told him that they no longer saw the guys. The guys stopped coming to the gym. The husband said he always thought Ellie was cheating, WHORE, but never suspected his wife. 2 pieces of crap, and he hung up. Well, there you go. I told her to get out. We are divorcing. She said this was her home too. Well, not for long, honey. She wasn't leaving. She wanted to make the marriage work. She'd get counseling to work on her problem. She realized she had a very serious problem. You think? You can't keep your clothes on. She wouldn't leave, and I couldn't make her. This was her home too. If she left, we wouldn't be able to work on the marriage. She'd do anything I asked, and I could just look at her phone and laptop anytime I asked to. If I wanted her to stop working, she'd quit or take a leave of absence. Oh yeah, stay together so she can quit the job and no longer have an income, and then divorce you, and then you got to pay her alimony. Yeah, that's not exactly a good idea. If I wanted her to stop working, she'd quit, blah, 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 whatever I wanted. We put a location app on her phone so I'd know where she was at all times. Why not just put an ankle bracelet on her, for goodness sake? None of this was necessary because she'd never do anything like this again. But she understood I didn't trust her, so whatever I need to do to make her secure, she's ready to do. She asked me if I had any more questions. I told her why ask questions. She hadn't been truthful so far. And I knew more than enough already. I told her that she wanted to do something for me. If she really loved me, like I said, she would leave. She said she did love me, and because she loved me, she wasn't going anywhere. We could sort this out and be happy together again. There is no way there's going to be any happiness after all this shit. She realized that she had a lot of work to do to regain my trust, but she'd be able to do that unless we were there together. I didn't think I could throw her out legally. We owned our townhouse together, so I'd ask my lawyer when I met with him tomorrow. You're not going to be able to get rid of her because she owns the place too, etc., etc. I told her it was a mistake for her to stay. There was no chance in hell of reconciliation. But if she insisted, she could stay in the guest room and I wouldn't let her anywhere near me. I told her to respect my space and leave me the hell alone. She asked where the stuff that she'd been wearing in Santa Fe was. Of course, she wants to know where her clothes are. I told her the dress, shoes, and panties were on the floor of my bedroom. Her pocketbook was on the dresser. She got up, went upstairs, and came back with the clothes. She got a trash bag from the kitchen and made a point of shoving her Santa Fe clothes into the bag to throw them away. She said she never needed the clothes like that again. She dressed up for me and me only, but these clothes were trash. Yeah, the clothes are trash and you are trash. They were from the past and she was done with the past. She apologized again for hurting me. She never hurt me again and she repeated that she loved me. This chick is psycho. We went to bed, me in the master bedroom, Ellie in the spare bedroom. At about 2 o'clock in the morning, there was banging on the front door. I went down to see who it was. Ellie was behind me. She was wearing only her panties, and I told her she should put something on to see who's at the door. And that is the end of part 2. And in part 3, you're going to find out who's banging on the door. And I'm sure you can figure out who is banging on the door crazily at 2 o'clock in the morning. And we're just getting started on the craziness here. Again, like I said, guys, truth is stranger than fiction. Again, is this real or not? We don't know. I'm giving the benefit of the doubt, but it's, no matter what, very good storytelling and writing skills. A lot of these guys write these things out in tremendous detail to make themselves feel better. Who knows? And they know by watching the channel make it good. We shall see. All right, guys, that is it for today. Be sure to comment down below, know what you think about this, and keep an eye out for part 3.